this game with a similar draft phase, I don't think it looks very good for Machi.
Well, let's go ahead and load on into draft. Machi are going to be opting to get first pick as they've selected blue side here for Game 3. Talon will be on red, and we start things off with, of course, Machi just trying to ban out Candy right off the bat with a LeBlanc ban, as well as the Azir ban in response from Talon.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much looks very similar to the early ban phase we saw from last game. Getting rid of the LeBlanc when you have Mission on your team seems like it's always a good decision, especially when it's across from Candy.
Yeah, it makes me wonder whether or not does Talon decide to leave open Aphelios just to invest a little bit more room to, again, constrict the pool of Mission, and perhaps, Unified has managed to, continue the 100% win streak on the Aphelios, but for Bruce, that misfortune isn't as reliable, so perhaps Varus is still up and open if ever they don't ban it.
So we'll see here is now Senna being banned out, and Corki once again drawing a ban, but I like this for Machi, a decent amount of respect being shown as they get rid of the Pantheon. Now for the side of Talon, do they opt to ban out, say, the Graves? No, they're going to go ahead and ban out the Varus.
They've kind of put them in a situation where they have to decide if they want the Aphelios or if they want the Syndra. I forgot all about the Graves.
They're still deciding.
Well, they're thinking about it. Yep, they locked it down, and that seems to me that's Mission's decision. And at this point, does Talon take away this Graves now? And again, you mentioned, Crow, about the mid and jungle synergy that could be perhaps stronger for the Talon side if they do want to have a lot of presence. But now it seems to me it's going to be the Aphelios open and possibly taken.
Well, and we could see almost the kind of style of draft that we saw yesterday in the series against AHQ in that Game 4 where Machi had to force the tiebreaker. They could go into a triple marksman kind of composition where they're going to be running, say, an Aphelios, and they could possibly go alongside with that Graves like we saw them before.
And again, like I mentioned in the first game when we saw Syndra picked, is that they have to consider the idea that this Syndra is not necessarily a mid laner. It could be going bot into this Aphelios, and that is a decent matchup for Syndra. So I'm hoping that we see them utilize that flexibility a little, but I wouldn't be too upset if they just locked in the Varus. They locked in an 80 carry here either. In either case, it makes a little bit of sense, but we also see the Graves locked in, which is a big deal.
Yeah, considering the fact that they don't want constricting Mission's pool again for the second draft, but perhaps we'll have to see as Graves is going to get locked in for Talon. I believe this is going to be the third time rather, and it has run twice already in the PCS, but it seems to me for Bruce, he's fallen back to a little bit more into standard and comfortable pick on the Misfortune.
Yeah, the Misfortune shown here likely now shows that Syndra is going to be for Mission in the mid lane, so they don't have to worry about the bans coming out once again for Talon. Now for Machi, do they just wish to try and lock down their jungle pickup before they get banned out, possibly looking toward this Jarvan, or even possibly say something along the lines of this Rex side?
I'm a little confused. I'm not sure how I feel about locking in your AD immediately right there, but I guess I can kind of see it from a comfort standpoint. It makes a lot of sense for Bruce. What I'm kind of concerned about is that Talon is already a team that plays pretty slow in the early game until they kind of go beast mode and just turn on that third gear. But I don't know how I feel about the fact that you're going to put River on a champion that's very passive in a game where they probably need to be a little more aggressive to win.
Yeah, and I think it's falling back on towards this mid and jungle duo that Machi has, hoping that perhaps they can try to make something happen, but unfortunately that's going to be a Galio-Syndra matchup in the mid lane, so there's little kill pressure on the side, especially earlier on.
So now, with that Galio getting locked in, we'll see if Talon are opting to go for kind of this dive. And this is the combo that we did see in their matchup against the Cassiopeia, that mid lane, an immobile carry where they just use the Galio into the Graves to just repeatedly gank mid lane and try and get Candy ahead. So we'll see whether or not Mission is able to keep himself centered and focused, if we saw him a little bit shaky in that game too. Now looking toward our bans, top side seems to be the answer here, as that's Machi actually getting a ban out for the Gangplank away from Hanabi.
And I really just want to go back to the 2v2 that we see in the mid jungle, because I actually like both of these 2v2s. I think that in a situation where you have the Syndra on its own against the Galio, that nothing really happens because the Galio will never really die to the Syndra in isolation. But when you add the rec side to that formula, then you have a much different combination. However, on the other side, their 2v2 is also very formidable. So I'm really interested to see how this game goes as it pertains to the mid and jungle.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Considering it has been, like, CC-wise, it's all intact for both sides, and as well as the adequate amount of damage. But now we see the Braum popping in. I feel like we're not going to be seeing any sort of Blitzcrank anymore. Actually, Mordekaiser is open for the taking if Talon decides to pick that up for Hanabi, unless he decides to go back to the Renekton pick that has been working out so far.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of good Renekton performances from Hanabi. Also, we've seen a couple where, you know, it doesn't do a whole lot on the map, and it's kind of a little bit concerning. Here, though, it is going to be that Thresh getting locked in for Talon, and now looking toward Machi. Do they opt in for that Blitzcrank, or are they going to go to something a little bit more reliable, like you said, Riku, with, say, possibly this Nautilus, and now looking toward PK, which they wish to put him in. Maybe it's going to be Maokai Duty that's just trying to be that heavy frontline tank with a decent amount of CC.
I have to admit to you, there's a very special place in my heart for Maokai on this patch. I really think that Maokai is a very good champion right now, simply because he presses W, he roots a champion, you kill that champion, and then you look for the W again. I think that he works very well in team comps because he has a very clear go button, and I think that that's what that was really lacking in the past few games was engage. In the game before, in the games that we've seen Trundle, basically the issue that the team with Trundle has had is that they had no real way of fighting, starting fights. So I'm really glad to see that come in from Machi.
Yeah, hard same, considering that there's another Aphelios in the opposite side of the map, and that means at least they have a ton of CC to chain to immediately burst down Unify when things get a little bit too sticky. And right now, Hanabi is opting towards it's open. Now it's the Mordekaiser for Hanabi.
All right, there you go. Mordekaiser for Hanabi this time around was hovering the Renekton to maybe try and cut down the tree, but like we now mentioned, it looks like Machi opting in for having the ability to have a little bit more tools at their disposal. A lot more CC engages. You have the Nautilus engage. You also have the Maokai engage alongside that bullet time now from Misfortune to try and line up some of this damage.
I like both of these comps a lot. It's going to be really interesting to see how team fights play out.
I'm actually a little bit scared for Machi, I suppose, especially when Candy's presence will be extra felt here on the Galio. So I feel like Bruce may not have the best of the times again here on the bottom side of the map, but we'll see. It will definitely depend on execution.
Yeah, we'll see here as series is tied now 1 game apiece for both of these squads. They're not used to possibly going the distance here. Talon has brought every best of 5 to a game 5. Machi here, maybe trying to close them out and maybe looking for that 3-1 record as we start looking toward now our final pickups. Hanabi going to be up on that Mordekaiser, up into the Maokai. We'll get to see him, and we'll see whether or not Talon are able to replicate the success that they had yesterday in their game against AHQ with this jungle mid combo of the Graves and the Galio to try and maybe look to shut down Mission as we go ahead and load on to the Rift for Game 3.
And with this, again, it's the same as the first BO5 where these two teams had met in the playoffs. 1 for 1. And now we'll have to see whether or not who gets that extra momentum push, considering that Talon has won the second game of this series.
Our grand final here, a full split of work, comes down now to only 3 more games as both teams were able to show themselves victorious. 1 game apiece. Now you kind of turn this best of 5 into a best of 3. Only 2 more wins nets you the crown of spring. For Talon, a brand new organization when it comes to League of Legends. I think alone to just get to the final of your first split, I think is already an accomplishment. But you heard the determination of a lot of these players. The Hanabi wanted to join this roster to get a championship underneath his belt, as he's kind of missed out on it. He's been wanting to get another one for himself.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a hell of a ride, considering that if they do win this championship, they had to go through 4 different potentially BO5s, and now it is going to be Machi that's standing in their way, as Machi has been garnering a lot of wins. Again, it was Talon that ended the 17-win streak of Machi, come from the group stages, rather, the regular split, coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, and this was a Machi in the second half of the season, like you said, undefeated. They absolutely dominated a majority of their matchups. Rarely did we get to see them have a slip up here and there. They usually were clean in their games. They usually finished routinely around that 30-minute mark. It seems though up against Talon, it has been, you know, a little bit of a shaky, you know, instance here and there. They were able to have a really good second round robin game against Talon, but the series, Talon's been able to, you know, pick them apart and take back games and end those win streaks.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with how aggressive Talon is when it comes to the early game. And it has been the bane of not only Machi, or rather not only AHQ, but Machi as well, as Machi has been tending to play a little bit more standard, play a little bit more passively.
Oh, here we go. Already seeing River make an appearance in that mid lane. That's going to be Mission without his flash.
Yeah, play a little bit more passively from Machi, whether or not it's going to be an aggressive Talon or maybe a passive Talon trying to match the scaling. It doesn't really matter. They seem quite unfazed. Gemini, in the meantime, though, might make a quick visit at top side.
And we've seen this before. Hanabi, if he tries to push out very far, Gemini will pay him a visit. Hanabi, though, is sticking in between Maokai and his tower, maybe realizing, all right, level 3 for Gemini. He's shown himself before in the previous games. He'd always path up towards the top side of the map, and River's down on bot side, so Hanabi should be playing this a little bit more careful.
Yeah, and considering that there is just a sure hard CC that is quite reliable, just as Crow said, in the form of this tree. So it's easy chain towards the unburrow, maybe even a flash unburrow to secure that kill. But for now, it's not going to be the perfect setup, as Hanabi is still pretty healthy, considering that is, again, a matchup of a Mordekaiser versus the tree. But yeah, in terms of CC for River to gank, everything seems to be intact, except I suppose towards Hanabi. The rake isn't as reliable, so perhaps it is definitely, you know, Kai Wing's lane with a death sentence and Candy for that setup to secure a couple of kills, maybe just even burn a couple of flashes here and there.
I even saw PK there was maybe possibly thinking of heading down toward the mid lane, possibly to see whether or not Talon was going to go for that 4-minute follow-up gank, pretty much what we saw in the game with the previous combo of the Graves and Galio. Instead, they just opted to back off, but River once again, Mission's playing very far toward the top side of the map. Candy has to realize maybe something's going on here, as the Rek'Sai will show itself, and Koala even actually coming on over to possibly assist, as Kaiwing did the same.
And this is what we've seen again, time and time again when we see Talon games. It is, you know, Talon bot lane getting priority. This leaves room for Kaiwing to roam with River, not only installing deep vision in the enemy jungle and find picks here and there. And at this point, that seems to be the plan in mind for Talon. And I feel like, you know, red side for this team in particular has been extremely strong, since this allows them to do this sort of play at red side near your bot lane.
Well, Hanabi tried to go for the ward and has to flash himself to safety. Didn't even want to risk it, as Gemini was looking for the knock-up. So no summoner available now on the Mordekaiser for the early part of this game. A nice flayback, though, as they're able to actually punish Koala decently here for his hook onto the minion. Has to flash himself to safety as Unified decides not to pop the Q to get the root from the black hole. And that will be a summoner. It's actually going to be flash being burned by Koala, as well as the heal by Bruce.
And that's a lot of summoners being burnt, actually, on the side of Machi time and time again. And with that said, it seems to me that's going to be the head start for Talon to get this dragon, and in time as well to contest the next objective, which is Rift Herald. And that is, again, the game plan for Talon. Machi not pressured at all, as they will look into later on when they get their item spikes to fight for the next objective.
There we go. Cloud Drake secured by Talon to start things off. Next objective you're going to be looking at for both of these squads is, of course, going to be the Rift Herald. It's interesting because the early games between these two squads they're pretty much clockwork with how it's been going. It's always, you know, first dragon, Woo! River almost being seen there by Gemini. Woo! He's so counting some blessings. That is the downside of, you know, Rek'Sai. If you're burrowed like that, you can't see who's someone right beside you, and River actually pulling off that back is impressive.
Exactly, and that is actually quite unfortunate for Machi, and yeah, managed to sneakily go away back to base, report back to base with without the interruption of Gemini. But we're almost at that point where everyone will come level 6, so it will definitely be on time for the Rift Herald, possibly, maybe not, possibly for Talon to just secure that objective at top side Rift Herald, and maybe annoy PK a little bit, or perhaps maybe Mission's lane, actually.
We'll see here. They're just going to let that push on back. Kaiwing is still roaming on towards the top side of the map, at least trying to maybe support here, as Unified went back, picked up his BF sword. Felios, this time around, not nearly as ahead as he was in the previous game, mainly because Bruce hasn't been the main target of a bunch of dives coming out of the side of Talon. We'll see here. We're going to be hitting level 6 already for Candy and Hanabi, so now the Galio combo is available, and maybe we'll start seeing a bit more action here from Talon now that they have some ultimates in hand.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it has something to do with the ward setup, where can Hanabi try to flank somewhere, possibly their main engage would definitely have a lot of weight towards Kaiwing and as well as Candy here. As we'll see, they're pretty much far forward. Problem is, Mission has gotten, he's gonna get his first back, and Candy will possibly use that teleport to make something happen or just go back to lane.
2.5 minutes until we have the Infernal. River's still sitting up toward the top side of the map. It looks like Gemini is looking to possibly start up this Rift Herald, as PK even sidestep away from the grasp of Hanabi. River's trying to just ease his way on in. Fortunately, Sapling just got thrown out, so he can't really try and go for that play, as he just puts down the control ward and he'll head on back to base.
Yeah, and it's super hard to gank and secure a kill to towards Tree at first. Unified will get a chunk of plates, and it seems to me that is going to be Rift Herald for the side of Machi.
Yeah, Talon are just rather fine, at least trying to get Unified 2 plates there. That's the power of the chakrams, is if he stands right beside the tower, he can actually shred that apart pretty fast, even after the first plate going down. So Unified will be happy getting some of that solo gold being put onto the Aphelios. That is trade, though. You're giving up that Rift Herald, so we'll see whether or not Machi are able to make more out of it, as they'd be just using it to equal out the gold gain from the plates on Unified.
And there's a ton of vision, too, and as we can see, there is a couple of advanced wards, at least, on this third brush near the Machi bot lane.
Candy.
Ooh, Candy in kill range.
Yeah, one more orb will do it. That's the flash on forward into the stun. Is it enough? River comes over toward the side. He's going to try and at least equal out that kill. It's going to be first blood, though, going on to Mission, as River is able to at least get a return kill onto the Grays, but Candy getting soloed out there by Mission.
Yeah, that was quite unexpected, considering I suppose it was the setup of a couple of pokes from the spheres, and eventually you will reach kill range. And unfortunately, the flash didn't really help since it was a maxed out Scatter of the Weak on towards that stun. But let's take a look at that again. It was definitely Candy not respecting the kill range again on the Unleashed Power.
Yeah, because unfortunately, you would have rather, had that flash for a possible play in the mid lane. It's kind of weird that we haven't seen River a whole lot. He's just been kind of farming in the jungle ever since he got level 6, and he tried to make a play up in top lane, but wasn't even able to apply any pressure onto PK, and we're kind of seeing a bit of a rollback of the playstyle that we didn't see yesterday, and now Gemini is looking to punish Candy without a flash available. This Galio is a sitting duck, and that's going to be the kill going on over to the Rex side.
And it makes me wonder what the plan was earlier in that first death of Candy. I feel like that was a setup bait play as River was nearby, but it has pushed Candy to a bit of a corner and open for ganks with that flash out. And now, Rift Herald summon PK opting to form a flank.
PK, can he actually pull the trigger? That's the ultimate coming on through. River has to flash away, but instantly into the depth charge, and he is just getting tossed around like a bouncy castle. He does get a return kill, and in comes Hanabi, at least going to try and follow up here and at least gain the advantage back in favor of Talon, trying to hold on from having to use his ultimate. Finally does, and that will be 2 kills for 1 in favor of Talon.
Both junglers have fallen, but now for Machi, a lot of kills here and there. Let's see this again. It all starts with the Scatter of the Weak stun, beautifully done with a knockup, and Koala just follows through with a CC. No flash, no escape.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, Candy without Flash, he's going to be actually a decent target here for Gemini. And then, you know, it's Machi here. They really wanted to try and get themselves another kill, so they do equal out 2 for 2. You know what? River's actually able to get himself the return kill via the turret. Meanwhile, Gemini just trying to get on over the pit. It's not going to happen. DK, though, with another flank here on the Mordekaiser. This, though, is Hanabi in the middle. In comes the Galio for the knock-up. They're able to find it, but guess what? Re-engage from Koala into the bullet time, and Unified has to flash on over to safety, and it's Talon just rushing into these fights, but Machi are able to respond.
Beautifully done. That dredge line, and then you pair it up with the bullet time. Obviously, when that is against that squishy target, there's a lot of soak damage, and then just immediately falls down. And it all started here with that flank, again, coming from PK. Everyone had to tank a few hits from the Dragon, so pretty much set up for a kill, and unfortunately, they're not able to get any sort of return kill in this engage in the Dragon.
There we go. It is the Dragon secured by Talon, but they do give up more kills, and Mission currently sitting on 100% kill participation on the Syndra so far. Ari has finished off his Ludens. He's already looking a bit scary, and this feels like a much more coordinated Machi compared to what we saw out of Talon in Game 2.
Yeah, and I think it has something to do with matching the aggression that Talon has. They would always try to exchange a few kills here and there, and as well as fight over the first few dragons of the game. Unfortunately, it was Talon that got the first 2 dragons, but they managed to exchange it still with a couple of kills for that cash and gold.
And so far in the mid lane too, Candy's been kind of the main target here. Been punished heavily for this Galio pickup. Only sitting on 3 deaths, has not been able to pick up a kill or assist, so starting to fall a little bit behind. He is mainly used for that ultimate and trying to at least get the taunt off, but unfortunately we're not seeing the style of play that we saw out of Talon in the series yesterday when they went for this combo. And again, Candy might get picked out here. The hook is going to land, the double taunt is going to connect into the Sky of the Week from the Unleashed Power, and Mission just absolutely deletes the Colossus.
Beautifully done. That is just constant pressure, and right in time too without Candy's flash, and it was just the perfect setup. Without your taunt charge in to just, or rather without your dash, then you're just pretty much vulnerable, and Koala's Q will definitely reel you in. And with that said, definitely not the funnest time, especially that since there's a lot of pressure for Candy, means he can't exactly apply pressure elsewhere.
Yeah, and Candy, without a flash, he's just going to be targeted again and again. All it takes is one form of CC, and the rest will follow. And now Mission is an absolute monster on this Syndra, also getting a nice Scout of the Week. That forces Skywing to have to back off as he gets chunked for a third of his health with just 2 abilities. And it's starting to not look too good here for Talon.
Yeah, and then we were wondering what would be the next move for River, considering he has been farming most of the time to ensure that he has a lot of damage once he, springs out of the jungle. But Gemini has been... There's a hook, though.
Oh, they get the hook onto Koala, able to pick out the Nautilus, and that should be enough to finish him off. Doesn't get himself to safety, and that'll be River's 3rd kill of the game as they now turn onto the Rift Herald.
That is quite a nice pickup coming from Talon. At least they are going to be... they're going to rest easy getting this Rift Herald. And now Mission is going to be staying a little bit here at top side. But in the meantime, I suppose it is going to be a 2nd Rift Herald in favor of Talon.
So there we go. Talon are at least able to pick up the 2nd Rift Herald of the game for themselves. Maybe able to at least knock down a tower or try and funnel some gold, as they've fallen a little bit behind overall. It's still a 1,000 gold lead in favor of Machi. Majority of that is onto the Syndra. We'll just take another look here as Koala's getting caught up.
And I feel like the way that Koala was comfy to just face check and everything was because Gemini was nearby and everybody else. But unfortunately, once you get the head start on that damage, at this point Koala is not going to be as tanky. But in the meantime, we see a couple of items already online. Leandri's already for Hanabi at least, and as well as Infinity Edge for Unified. So he's going to add a bit of extra painful damage on towards Machi when it comes to Dragon Dances.
Still waiting though on that Rune Ends that you'd like to see for the Apelios. Still waiting on that 2 to 3 items. So for now, if he's able to get the proper gun set up, he'll be able to get some decent damage as immediately Bruce steps up forward. But
ooh,
Mission!
That's yummy.
He's hunting for a Scatter of the Week to connect onto that Aphelios, and he's almost at the point now where if he gets just a little tick of poke into a full combo, he should be able to one-shot anyone.
Exactly, and 7 stacks and the Dark Seal, and for Talon, they do have control over this dragon at least, position-wise. With PK, or rather with Unified sneaking a little bit of towers here and there as Mission is poked out a little bit, but now Talon is starting the dragon.
This is rather aggressive from Talon. Misfortune is in the mid lane, so there is no bullet time available. It's going to be taken already. Hanabi ends up popping the Death Realm right off the bat. And it will be the 3rd dragon going in favor of Talon, so they are 1 take away from Mountain Soul. I don't know, though. Machi have the inside track toward this mid lane, and they're going to try and cut off Talon, and River's got to be careful. That's the flash forward coming out from Kaiwing, able to get a connection on to the Maokai. Is the Maokai your main target you want to be looking for? Unified still healthy on the backside, getting a decent amount of damage. Kaiwing going down low. It's the sapling. Is it enough to take him down? No, as Hanabi is in the back line, and he's able to take down Koala. River flashes back over to safety. In comes a hero's entrance, and Unified is able to trade back a kill. Kaiwing very low, able to find safety. And Talon, somehow in the choke point, are able to walk away with the extra kill in hand. Never mind. How the hell did Kaiwing
did the sapling find?
Was there a sapling on the other side of the wall he didn't see?
There
was! Are you serious?
Oh, dear me. Imagine if he ported back. Anyway, let's take a look at this fight. That turret in the middle just dealt a huge amount of damage. And Infinity Edge is definitely enough. And that tower, that mini turret coming from the Aphelios stood strong. And we can see the unfortunate death of Kaiwing. Gemini had to try and hunt for him. But unfortunately, PK had to die, so one of them engaged, and then Kaiwing that is...
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's a sapling. It's a sapling death.
That's the last thing. Instead of, you know, I'm right behind you, you're already dead. It's just a meow from a Maokai sapling, and you're already dead. With that, it's a 2 for 2 in the end, at least, as PK... you know, leaving a present from beyond the grave, it seems, is able to tie up the kills afterwards. I feel like that fight could have went a lot worse, though, for Talon, especially at a choke point like that. I was ready for Bruce's bullet time to absolutely slaughter them when they tried to push forward.
And the thing was, even though they wanted to push forward, keep everyone intact by their hard CCs, coming from Machi, it was that I feel like the turret coming from Unified was definitely enough for them to respect and not pursue anything else, as they were also busy having to deal with Hanabi. So the backline had pretty much comfortable free hit on towards that side. And in the meantime, it is going to be an exchange of towers, with Talon winning this trade with this inner tower.
So Hanabi has been able to continue his split push on this Mordekaiser, has been able to get some gold into his back pocket. He actually rushed the Leandres, and he saw if he's able to get into the back line, he can cause a lot of disruption onto Machi's carries. So Mission and Bruce have to be a little bit more careful. You're looking, though, for Talon. You kind of lost this kind of, you know, early-esque Graves advantage that you were kind of expecting, and now you're pretty much heavily relying on Unified to stay alive during some of these team fights, which he has proven himself to be able to do this on the Aphelios. It wouldn't be the first time he's carried Talon, but there's a lot of go buttons on the side of Machi. If they just get within range, he's going to still get taken down.
Yeah, and I think that is the difficult challenge that Machi has to go through, considering that Aphelios was also the biggest problem that Machi had to face, and this Aphelios pick from Unified is currently sitting at 100% win rate, beating Bruce's 12 win streak on the Misfortune. And at the moment, it's just one of those things on where, how do you get through this backline? The answer was maybe not an assassin, but in the form of a Syndra for that burst, and PK holding them still, and as well as the Nautilus ult. But at this point, you have that secondary damage, source of damage, which is in the form of River.
We'll see here if River's able to find. He's been able to get the 3 kills so far, and also help out during the team fights while he can. You also have that off-tank, you know, damage that does come in the form of this Mordekaiser, as Hanabi's actually gone into a Rylai's, so looking to stick onto his targets, also get a little bit of health into his back pocket, so it's going to be a pseudo-tanky Mordekaiser to deal with. Next dragon, though, spawning in 50 seconds. Machi have been able to line the River with ward coverage, so it's going to be up to Talon if they want to try and push up here. But guess what? Bruce and Mission already trying to get priority in the mid lane.
Yeah, they managed to shove that wave towards Talon. They have a good head start once more. And we'll have to see, as again, the key here is bursting someone down immediately. Make it an instant 4v5, or maybe if you don't get a kill, force them back to not be able to create as much impact as expected. And now it has been the battle of the two supports, Koala in as well as Kaiwing, to see who gets the hook first.
Well, Talon try and get a push in. 15 seconds onto the Dragon. Sky of the Week is not going to connect. Talon can start pathing their way into the river. A bit scary as River's going to get caught out. That's going to be the depth charge used immediately. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, there's another one taking place. Bullet time, able to get damage onto Candy, but not enough to finish him off. Gemini gets himself back to safety. Unified, though, is in the middle of 4 members, and Mission and Bruce are able to take him apart. Scatter the Week onto 3 members.
Wow.
It's not enough, though, to survive. And now Mission is going to be the next target if he's not careful. Bruce in the death realm against Hanabi, and Hanabi's able to find the solo kill. Mission, though, trying to get himself back to safety. The grip is just enough to pull Mission back to safety, and now Candy needs to try and finish off the kill. And the Wars of Wind, there it is, able to find its target, and River is the lone member remaining alongside this Galio and Thresh. Gemini needs to look for a steal, but it looks like Mountain Soul goes in favor of Talon.
And there you go, that's the fight that they want to take. And unfortunately, it was Machi that started it in the form of Koala finding the Graves. And I feel like that, you know, that distance between the mid lane and that wall just really put an awkward spot for Machi to join the fight, because Bruce had to use a flash to join the fight. So there's not a lot of defense options left because Koala died.
There we go. You even saw, like, this looked very concerning if you're on the side of Talon. We mentioned if Unified gets caught out, it could be game over, but like you mentioned, we have the second forms of damage of River and Hanabi that are able to help carry the fight. And Hanabi, the fact he's able to solo out Bruce here in the Death Realm is a very dangerous sign here for Machi.
And managed to soak up a lot of HP, and with that said, Candy managed to get that Q last hit. Unfortunately, didn't work out in Mission's favor. And with that, things are looking not so good on the side of Machi.
Still see, though, game dead even when it comes to golden kills and towers, but you gotta look at those dragon markers for Talon. They now claim themselves the Mountain Soul, which is going to provide them some extra safety off the up first burst damage that's going to come out of Mission, giving Unified an extra, 400 to 500 health. He'll have a little bit more, too, once he goes into the Bloodthirster if he wishes to do so. To provide a lot of safety for this Aphelios, and now this game gets a bit difficult here for Machi. They got to find picks where they can and then try and avoid the team fights, because it just seems like Talon just have their number at the moment. So they're going to try and get a little bit of a push here in mid lane. Baron, the next objective for these teams to take, as Elder Drake's going to be another 4.5 minutes away.
Oh, tower will spot. Look at that damage. Good thing Mission is there to just remove that away from Gemini. But yeah, Runan's already completed for Unified. We were talking about how Infinity Edge earlier is already quite painful, and then Runan's is just going to add a little bit more pain, especially in close proximity and 5v5 team fights, rather. And with that said, good news is for Machi, no stopwatches anymore for Unified, no Zonias yet for Candy. So there's a little bit of window because there's minimal defense options to try and deny any sort of burst. So that is a window of opportunity definitely for Machi to chain the roots to a bullet time, or possibly just try to burst someone down in the form of the Syndra and make it a 4v5.
A bit of farm here and a little bit of patience available now, at least for Machi, as Talon are not looking to force the issue just yet. Continue just going to farm away here, it seems. Still though, 3.5 minutes onto the Elder Drake. Going to have that toss-up. Who's going to be, aiming for what? So Gemini is just looking to try and hunt out any member of Talon that's maybe stepping a little too far forward. Kaiwing, gotta be careful, he goes on the other side of this wall. He is going to see the shadows, does get the hook over and wants to engage, and there you go. Gemini goes extremely low. In comes the Hero's Entrance, and they catch out the Rek'Sai. Hanabi wants to join in onto the fight. He's able to catch out Bruce. Whoa. Bruce gets himself to safety, but River obliterates him with the Graves ultimate, and Talon, just full force in mid lane, are able to decimate Machi and head toward the Baron.
No jungler, no PK, no brute. Just Mission is the only one left. This means that Machi is not able to interrupt anything away from Talon, and this is going to be a free Baron. And it's just the timing is so perfect too, because once they get a Baron, they can go get that reset and prepare for Elder Drake.
And there we go, Baron in hand, and like you mentioned, 2.5 minutes for the Elder Drake, and it shows if Talon are able to get one of the squishy members, if you avoid Hook and possibly PK, or this Nautilus, and get somebody else on the side of Machi, it's just game over, because even with Bruce and Mission here to try and support on damage, they get a decent amount, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and at this point, Unified, again, had zero threats whatsoever, and they had to deal with so much beefy frontline. And even Hanabi, you mentioned, even though he's like a pseudo tank, he's still quite painful once you just keep sticking around this Mordekaiser. And now that's a lot of control for Talon. QSS out though from Unified, but all of his summoner spells are still intact. It wasn't burnt at all.
And there you go. Tower mid lane's going to be taken. Talon are able to pick up some of the freestanding gold, and here we go. It's starting to get a little bit out of control here as Machi need to try and stop the bleeding as much as they can, as Talon is building up this advantage. Hook is not going to land there from Kaiwing. He's fishing for the Nautilus, but still Unified whacking away on the tower, has about a 600 health shield. So even if Mission was able to catch him out with a combo, he would still somehow survive. Meanwhile, topside, it's Candy pushing in onto the second tier tower against PK as the rest of Talon look to rotate.
And that's going to be another inner tower down for the side of Machi. Talon is definitely getting a lot of value over here and pushing, making sure to take as much as they can before the Elder starts to spawn. And with that, does Machi decide to fight for it? Because it has been looking pretty grim in the team fights.
There we go, 45 seconds on this Elder Drake. Baron buff for another minute 30. Hanabi is just going to head on back to base. Doesn't have teleport, but that's why he's going back now for 30 seconds until the spawn. What does Machi try and do here? Do they even have what it takes to try and answer this possible take and Talon push forward? You see Bruce can't even step close to Unified without risking just getting chunked out by auto attacks. Mission coming in with the teleport. Gets a little bit of damage there onto Candy. Talon looking to set up as Candy getting a bit aggressive. Decides to back off.
I think the big problem is the towers and the damage. Look at Mission already chunked into a significant amount. And at this point, Kaiwing is going to meet his enemy support.
There we go. Engage onto Koala. He goes down pretty low. Isn't going to be taken down. Unified able to land the ultimate, and it'll take him down from half a screen away. Meanwhile, in the middle of the pit, it's Gemini taking on Bruce with Candy. The fight is split, but PK and Mission, they're losing out on their front, and Talon are decimating here still, as once again, Unified, even with the ultimate from Mission, doesn't even go below half health. The Syndra is able to survive, but Talon are looking for the base.
And there you go. That's a lot of death timers with only 3 members from Machi there to defend. And Bruce does have that bullet time to clear down the waves, but they gotta be careful as you're gonna be just on a standstill.
Bullet time comes out. Bruce gets caught out, able to queue us out back to safety. Meanwhile, though, the Rek'Sai going to go into stasis. Talon are trying to push up forward. River's going to get caught out if he's not careful. A decent chunk of damage comes out from Bruce, and Machi are looking to hold the base. In goes Candy trying to support. Koala very close to getting a hook, but Talon are on the retreat.
And now for Talon, they can be satisfied getting that inhibitor, just going back to prepare for the Elder Drake, and they're still on the run.
This is the guts play that's coming out here from PK. He's going to try and look for a flank here onto River. If he can catch out the jungle, then Machi can't really do a whole lot. It's going to be the flash out from River trying to get back to safety, but guess what? Unified is there, and they're able to make firewood out of this Maokai, as once again, Machi are going to be at a man disadvantage.
44 seconds on the clock. PK has no teleport whatsoever. And for Talon, the rest of Talon, they're not healthy except for Unified and Candy. So now they can opt to just maybe possibly go for cams, as, you know, lifesteal is available for them. And at this point, you know, Talon full control over this Elder. What does Machi decide to do with no, you know, main initiator in the form of this Maokai?
Well, teleport's going to come out here from Hanabi. He's just going to act as bodyguard duty, trying to prevent Gemini from coming into the pit. It looks like Machi have conceded this, and it is now up to Talon to just walk into the base of Machi Esports and look to take the lead in our grand finals, up a game heading into game 4, looking to close out the series. Machi can still hold.
And this is quite different, again, from what we've seen. If, yes, indeed, Talon wins this match, then it's not the usual alternate, wins here and there between the two teams. But it all started with catching Koala, and at this point, it is a 4v5 situation. And again, you see the fight split into two, except for the fact that you're wanting to get Candy, and he's not exactly the biggest threat from Talon's side, and he's gonna take a while to actually burst him down. And with that said, Machi is not able to do much and have to deal with Baron buffs, had to deal with this Mountain Drake buff, and as well as this Elder.
There we go. Baron is going to be spawning in about 1 minute. For Talon, you'd like to see them actually maybe try and go for a fight while they have this Elder buff. But for now, they're going to opt in for this slow push. Hanabi in the mid lane trying to escort the super minions in. 2.5 minutes on the mid lane inhibitor before Machi is going to be able to find themselves a bit of reprieve. Mission able to get a good combo off on Hanabi, but he gets himself back to safety. Meanwhile, top lane is going to be pushed in here by Talon. Mission maybe looking for a scatter of the week. Kaiwing's not able to land the hook, and that should be the inhibitor falling here once again for Machi.
And with that, towers are slowly falling down, and at this point, it's all about finding that hook from Koala, perhaps a go button coming from PK. But right now, it's very, very tough considering that Talon is going to get this Baron buff instead with two open inhibitors already on the side of Machi.
And back to the Baron, Talon go. We'll see if Machi are able to answer this. Pings are coming out, but for now, it looks like Machi have to let this one go. It's going to be Talon's Baron to work with. Base in shambles on the side of Machi. It looks like an okay early game. We were criticizing Talon for maybe not being as proactive as we wish, but they were able to find their condition via these fights with Hanabi and Kaiwing. With Unified, Mission has to be careful, might get caught out toward the side. In comes the hook from Kaiwing, not going to connect on anyone from the flash, but Mission is absolutely cut off from the rest of his squad, and Talon are going to start walking in via mid.
Machi thought that Talon was going to reset after the Baron, so that's the reason why Bruce was going for that push instead, but at least he made it back in time.
Here we go. First Nexus Tower going down as Unified is able to claim it. It's going to be Machi trying to do what they can. In comes the bullet timeout. They're able to take down Mission, and Unified still is untouched here on the Aphelios. River is on a rampage, and Talon are looking to take the hammer into Game 4 as they take down Machi here in Game 3 and lead the series 2-1.
What a win coming from Talon, and everybody's pretty much happy, especially that this is quite different from what we've seen in the best of 5 when they first met in the playoffs. It was alternating wins between the two teams, but this time around, Talon has that initial lead with that, 2-1 into the series.
And we come back to our analyst desk. We're joined once again here by Crow, and Crow, I know we had some thoughts early on. It looked a little bit dire there for Talon, but they were able to bring it back.
I'm starting a petition as of right now to 100% ban Aphelios from Unified. You cannot let this man have this champion. He is just too good at it. And it's really just made clear here that if Unified gets his hands on Aphelios, he is not going to let his team lose the game. He practically willed his team to a win there. Not to say that the rest of his team didn't play a few team fights exceptionally well, but Unified clearly the standout player here.
Yeah, he's had a disgusting performance. I know Riku, like you mentioned, currently 100% win rate when it comes to the champion. So for Machi, the question now, you're going to have side selection heading into Game 4. You're going to look to have this first pick. If you leave open the Aphelios, well, that's on you if you're not going to take it yourself. And honestly, like the early game that was coming out from Talon, we were a little bit concerned, but like you mentioned, they were able to will it back. Let's go ahead and take a look toward one of the mid lane team fights.
Yeah, this was one of the team fights where Koala was the one that started, and unfortunately he got bursted down immediately. And the stopwatches were indeed a huge, huge problem for that bullet time to not be able to get 100% value. And this is the part where Bruce even had to flash, and that means, you had to sacrifice a little bit of that defensive spell when you come against Hanabi that likes to stick to the carries.
I just really disagree with I just really disagree with the way that they took some of these fights, especially since their Syndra was so fed. They could have created some situations where they could deny some vision in the jungle and then maybe force them to check into them, and then create situations where Syndra can be very powerful because she just one-shots anyone who gets in her way. But I really disagree with the way they played some of the team fights, and the way they set up for some of their objectives I think was a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, because like early on it looked like, you know, it was mid lane difference. Poor Candy was getting absolutely obliterated. He was getting camped in the mid lane by Gemini, and I was really concerned here that Mission was just going to do Mission things and start, you know, outplaying everybody by just hitting his ultimate onto the squishy members of Talon and just running away with the game.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned too, considering that, yes, just as Crow said, it was all about that fed Syndra, but unfortunately it didn't really translate into anything else, and Machi falling back to the usual playstyle of the 5v5s instead of bursting someone down caught off guard. And unfortunately, we didn't really see that. And now the question is, since Machi, I think this is the first time they've had to deal with a deficit in score in a series.
Yeah.
And I think that this might be a time where they need to start banning the Thresh away as well. I think that the Thresh has been one of those picks that's been really shaping the whole way that the meta at bot lane has gone in this series, because it forces you to either pick the Blitzcrank and then be not as effective later on if you're behind, especially, or, you know, pick the Nautilus. And I don't know, but it seemed to me that Koala might not be the most comfortable on that champion.
Well, and you mentioned the Thresh. It is going to be the MVP once again for Kaiwing, as he picks up the victory alongside Talon with a 91% kill participation on the Thresh, able to land the hooks, get himself his carries to safety with the lanterns, and an amazing job too. We saw a lot of engage coming out of this Thresh, which was very pleasant to see, considering you're going up against a Maokai, a Nautilus that can easily counter-engage, but they were able to burst down those key members before Machi could do anything about it.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's definitely the scary part. I do agree with Crow that perhaps maybe just leave off the Thresh for now. And that's a lot on the line. Aphelios, a Thresh that has been working out so well for Talon. And unfortunately, even if Mission gets his key picks this time around, it seems to be not working when it comes to the 5v5s.
I mean, again, I just really disagree with the way that they played some of their fights. They had definitely all the tools to win the game, but they were on a timer, because the opposing comp really outscales them really hard. So if they make mistakes like that, the game becomes much more difficult, but they definitely had a shot. I don't think they need to change much about their draft strategy, but I think the biggest one is you cannot let Kaiwing have that champion. I mean, Unified have that champion.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll see whether or not Machi can repeat history, but this time they're on the losing end, or will Talon be able to take home the split championship for spring in the PCS? Stick around, we'll be back right after a short break.